Silence fell across the planet. The fires still burned. The wrecks still smoked. Bodies of ships and soldiers lay scattered for miles. But no sound came. Not even the birds returned. The air was too heavy, too dark. The Varnuk invasion had ended in one night. Not because of a battle, not because of peace talks, but because they had met something they could not fight. The Silent One stood in the middle of the destruction, still motionless, still quiet, still terrifying. He had not moved more than a few steps since he appeared. And yet, his presence alone had destroyed the most feared army in the galaxy. No one knew how. No weapons were seen. No ships under his control. No armies behind him. Just him, alone. But that was enough. In deep space, aboard a hidden Varnuk listening post, a group of alien scientists had watched everything. They were not fighters. They studied life forms, energy, and secret powers. For years, they had researched humans, calling them primitive, emotional, unpredictable. But now, after watching what happened on the invasion planet, none of them said a word. One finally whispered, "That was not a man." Another replied, "Then what was he?" The eldest among them leaned forward, eyes wide with fear. He was a reminder. Back on Earth, in a black site hidden beneath the Arctic ice, the human leaders gathered. They had watched the entire event. Every destroyed ship, every falling scream. Every moment the Silent One stood still, and the universe bowed in terror. General Marsh, one of Earth's oldest military minds, slammed his fist on the table. "You released him without authorization." Captain Lee stood calmly. "We didn't release him. We woke him. There's a difference." Another council member asked, "Why now?" Lee looked each of them in the eye. "Because we warned the galaxy. Many times. Do not push. Do not come to our worlds uninvited." She leaned forward. They didn't listen. The Silent One was not just a weapon. He was a message. To every empire, every race, every system out there. Humanity has limits. Cross them, and something older will answer. He had been sealed long ago. Not because he was dangerous to humans, but because he was dangerous to everyone, including us. Far above Earth, in orbit, signals lit up across the human defense grid. Thousands of alien fleets, watching, waiting, listening. Some had planned attacks. Others hoped to break Earth's growing power. But after what they saw, they began turning away, retreating, one by one, because now they understood. Earth had something buried, something ancient, something worse than any war machine. A being who didn't shout, didn't threaten, didn't move, but made entire civilizations kneel. The Council of 10, the oldest and most powerful alien rulers, held a secret emergency meeting on their hidden moon. One elder alien whispered, "What is the name of that human?" Another answered, "They call him the Gravestone." "No, not what they call him. What is he?" Silence. Then a voice replied, "He is not a soldier, not a man. He is what humans become when they are truly pushed beyond reason." The elders sat in still fear. One finally said, "This was not a war." The others nodded slowly. This was a warning. On Earth, Captain Lee walked through the cold halls of the black site. She passed locked doors, steel walls, and finally stood before a massive chamber sealed with ancient human tech. Inside stood the Silent One. He had returned on his own, back into silence, back into sleep, not because he was defeated, but because his message had been delivered. She looked through the thick glass. He stood there, not moving, eyes closed, face calm. But the air around him felt like thunder waiting to crack the sky. Lee whispered, "Thank you." She turned to leave. But as she walked away, a soft whisper echoed through the chamber. Not angry, not loud, just 5 words. "They will come again. Soon, panic reached the Xarnek Senate. Some senators demanded surrender. Others called for all-out war against Earth. But one admiral stood and shouted, "You still don't understand. This is not a war. This is justice. He's not here to fight. He's here to erase us." Earth didn't respond to messages, but the galaxy heard stories. Refugees from dying systems told tales of a man appearing without warning, standing silently as their worlds began to vanish. A Xarnak ship captain saw him walking alone in the center of a starbase, untouched by fire, as the station collapsed around him. An alien child told of seeing him holding a small toy rabbit, left behind on a ruined colony. The stories all ended the same. He didn't speak, but I could feel his pain. And pain, when deep enough, becomes something worse than rage. General Krays sat in the command chamber with Varka. He was tired, angry, terrified. "How do we stop him?" he asked. Varka didn't answer right away. Then he said slowly, "I don't think we can. We have weapons, fleets, command eye. Something must work." "He's not fighting us with weapons," Varka replied. "He's fighting us with silence. Silence and sorrow." Elsewhere, above a burning moon, a secret human fleet watched from the shadows. Their ships were cloaked, silent. One officer asked, "Why aren't we helping him?" The commander replied, "Because this was personal. We warned them." And Earth gave him one rule: don't come back until it's done. The officers swallowed hard, because now they understood. The Revenant wasn't destroying the Xarnek. He was burying them. In the war hall, the silent human finally moved again. He turned toward the main doors. This time, he spoke one final sentence to General Krays. "Your last planet is next." Then he vanished. No sound, no light, just gone. Krays fell to his knees. He had just realized. This wasn't revenge. It was the end of a story. And it had all started the day they touched one little girl. The galaxy waited for Earth to speak. But Earth said nothing. No message, no warning, no broadcast of war. Just silence. And still, the planets kept going dark. The Xarnek Empire was falling, one world at a time. No bombs, no fleets, only one human. And a pain so deep, it had turned into something the galaxy couldn't understand. In the Earth Command Tower, hidden deep beneath the surface, 5 top leaders sat in silence. Their screens showed everything: live feeds, data, AI projections. "He's reached Sector 9, said Admiral Rhea, her voice flat. 2 more Xarnak colonies vanished last night. President Aishan leaned back, and still no response from the Galactic Council. "They're in hiding," another general said. "No one wants to be next." There was a long pause. Then Rhea asked, "Should we recall him?" Everyone looked at each other. "No," said Aishan finally. "He's doing what must be done." His name was Commander Eli Voss. But the galaxy didn't know that. To them, he had become the Revenant. A ghost. A shadow of grief. He never shouted. He never ran. He simply arrived, stood in silence, and entire worlds went cold. Eli didn't ask for help. He didn't need it. He had something stronger than weapons. He had loss. And loss, when focused, could destroy even the strongest empire. Many asked why Earth had not declared war. They didn't know the truth. Earth had already warned the galaxy, many times. But the Council had laughed. Xarnak leaders had said, humans are soft, too emotional, too weak. Now, they were begging for mercy, sending messages into the void. But Earth never replied, because Earth had nothing to say. What needed to be said, Eli was already showing it. On a far-off moon, a group of Xarnak survivors hid underground. A small girl among them whispered to her mother, "Is the silent man coming?" Her mother held her close. "I don't know, sweetie. Outside, the air was still. The lights began to flicker. Then came the soft sound of a child's voice, playing from old speakers left behind. "Daddy, come find me." The mother's hands shook. It was the same voice that had been heard across dozens of lost worlds. And then the shadows moved. No weapons fired. No ships fell from the sky. But when the rescue teams came hours later, no one was left. Back on Earth, a transmission came in. It was from a small neutral planet, home to diplomats and traders. They begged Earth, "Please, just speak. Tell him to stop. We'll give you anything." President Aishan typed a reply, then stopped. He hovered over the Say ND button, then deleted the message. They didn't deserve words. They had watched while humans begged for their child to be returned. All 6 members turned to face him. No guards, no defense, no escape. Eli Voss stood there, his eyes tired, his face hollow. Leader Xura stepped forward. His voice cracked. "Please, human, we didn't know. We didn't understand." Eli said nothing. Varka, the last Karnak general, whispered, "We are sorry." Eli finally spoke. His voice was soft. "Tell that to the children your fleets took from Earth colonies." Xura's lips shook. "We didn't mean." Eli stepped forward. "Then why did you laugh when we begged for help?" No one answered. He looked at each of them. "You thought humanity would break," he said. "You thought we'd fall to our knees." He shook his head. "You were wrong." He raised one hand. Not in anger, not in hate, but in final judgment. And then, the chamber lights flickered and died. The last scream was not one of pain. It was regret. And then, silence. Back on Earth, President Aishan stood on a quiet balcony, staring up at the stars. Admiral Rhea joined him. "It's done," she said. Ishan nodded. The council. Gone. He closed his eyes. "I wish they had listened." Rhea whispered, "They had every chance." They ignored them all. Across the galaxy, the silence spread. Worlds once ruled by fear now looked to Earth, not with anger, but with respect. Messages began pouring in. From small systems, from forgotten planets, from old enemies. They all said the same thing. "We understand now." And Earth, still silent, because Eli had said everything for them. And what he said changed the galaxy forever. In the ruins of Fortress Zorin, a single file was left behind. No one knew who uploaded it, but every species in the galaxy saw it. It was a video. Short, simple, a little human girl smiling into the camera. "Hi, Daddy. I miss you. Come find me." That was it. The video ended. But the message, it echoed across every world. Because now, they knew. That little girl was humanity's last hope. And Eli Voss had become her answer. The galaxy was quiet now. No battles. No fleets moving. No orders from the council. Because the council was gone, and everyone knew why. One human, one father, one message. On a small ship floating above Earth, Eli Voss sat alone. The battle was over. His mission complete. But there was no peace in his heart. Only silence. He looked at the photo of his daughter. Her smile, her bright eyes, her voice, saved in an old recording. "Hi, Daddy. I miss you. Come find me." He had played it 1,000 times. Now, he played it one last time. Back on Earth, President Aishan stepped up to a podium. The world was watching. And so was the galaxy. Hundreds of alien species tuned in. Everyone waited for Earth's next move. Would humanity take control of the galaxy? Would they demand power, riches, revenge? President Aishan looked calm, but his eyes held pain. He cleared his throat. "This is not a victory speech," he said. "There is no joy in what happened." He paused. We begged the galaxy for help when our colonies were attacked. We asked for justice when our children were taken. His voice grew stronger. You gave us silence. He held up a small device. It showed the Council's last message. Aliens crying, begging, apologizing. And now, you understand what silence feels like. Many across the galaxy watched with wide eyes. The galaxy was quiet. After the fall of the Varnock fleet, no one dared speak of war. No ships entered human space. No threats were made. Every empire that once called humans weak now stayed silent. They had seen what lived beneath Earth's surface. They had seen him, the one who didn't move, the one who made entire armies kneel. They thought it was over. They thought the humans had shown their ultimate weapon. But they were wrong. Very wrong. Inside Earth's deepest black site, under layers of steel and ice, the Silent One stood still inside his chamber. The world outside had returned to normal. People laughed. Ships moved. Life continued. But the humans in charge knew the truth. That peace was only an illusion, because the galaxy never learns. And they knew he was not the only one. Captain Lee walked down the same dark hallway again. But this time, she didn't stop at the Silent One's chamber. She walked past it, deeper, through doors that required special keys, DNA scans, and voice codes. She reached a room so hidden. Only 5 people on Earth knew it existed. Inside were 7 more chambers, each one sealed, each one glowing, each holding something inside. Someone. Lee stepped forward and looked at the glass of the first chamber. Inside was a woman, tall with silver skin and eyes that burned like stars. Her name was Ashra. She had once destroyed an entire ocean on another world with just her breath. Sealed by humans long ago. Not killed. Just contained. The second chamber held a child, no older than 10. But this child could speak to machines, could stop missiles in midair with a single thought. Name. Echo. A living code. And so it continued. 7 chambers. 7 beings. All once human. All no longer ordinary. These were the first awakened. The Silent One was only the beginning. A test. A reminder. The others were sleeping. But not forever. Lee turned to General Marsh, who stood beside her in silence. He asked, "How long do you think we have?" Lee replied, "Not long. The galaxy. Watching. Preparing. And when they come again." Lee looked through the glass. This time, there was no fear in her voice. Only certainty. Then we won't just wake one. Far across the stars, in the heart of another empire, alien leaders gathered. They studied every signal, every scan, every whisper from Earth. One said they used a weapon beyond logic. Another replied, "No, that was not a weapon. That was a message." A third asked, "Do we strike now, while they are weak?" The leader stood slowly and said one sentence. They were not weak. They were holding back. Back on Earth, the Silent One opened his eyes. For the first time since the battle, he moved. He raised his head, just slightly. Then, without a word, turned toward the sealed hallway where the others slept. And for the first time, he smiled, because he knew what was coming. And the galaxy wasn't ready. The battlefield was silent. Smoke rose from the broken ground. Alien tanks, sharp and deadly, stood in lines. Soldiers from the Varnock Empire, a race feared across the galaxy, stood ready. They wore black armor and held plasma rifles that could melt steel. But they were nervous. Something was wrong. Commander Threx of the Varnock army looked through his scanner. The humans were not here. No troops, no ships, no drones, only silence. "Where are they?" Threx growled. Scouts said they were here. The sky above was dark with storm clouds. Wind blew dust into the air, but still, no movement. Then, One of the alien soldiers shouted, "Movement, 400 meters, straight ahead." All scanners turned to that direction, all eyes focused. There, standing alone in the middle of the dead battlefield, was a single human. He wore black armor, no weapons, no flag, no motion. He didn't move an inch, just stood there. Commander Threx narrowed his eyes. Zoom in. The image became clear. The figure was human. A male, tall, helmeted, both arms at his sides. No signs of attack. No sign of fear. Just stillness. "Is he alive?" someone asked. "Scanners say yes," replied a technician. "But something is wrong." "What do you mean?" "The readings. They don't make sense. Our systems are glitching. We're losing signal. Switch to backup radar." "No use, Commander. He's jamming us. But we don't detect any jamming tech." Threx stared at the still figure. No armor shine, no movement, just silence. But somehow, the air around him felt heavy, as if space itself didn't want to touch him. "Send in a recon drone," Threx ordered. A small drone flew toward the human. It buzzed through the air like a wasp. The drone reached 20 meters from the figure, and then, without warning, it shut down, fell to the ground like a stone. No explosion, no spark, just nothing. The soldiers looked at each other. "What did he do?" one whispered. "He didn't move," said another. "He didn't even lift a finger." Suddenly, one of the alien officers screamed and fell to his knees. Everyone turned. The officer pointed at the figure. His hands were shaking. "It's him. It's the Silent One." More soldiers dropped to the ground. Some clutched their heads. Others backed away in terror. "What's happening?" Threx shouted. The communications officer stuttered. "We're getting psychic feedback, mind disruption, fear, deep fear. It's spreading like a wave." "From him?" Threx asked. "Yes, only from him. But he didn't do anything." The officer looked pale. "That's the problem." Then the sky changed. Clouds above the human figure began to spin. Slowly, like something invisible was turning the air itself. The wind stopped. Even the birds in the sky froze in mid-flight. And fell. Commander Threx took one step back. "Who is he?" he whispered. The ground near the human began to crack. Still, he didn't move. But the air felt like thunder. It pressed on every chest. Alien hearts beat faster. Eyes widened. Panic grew. One elite Varnak sniper aimed his rifle. "Permission to fire, Commander." Threx hesitated. "Fire," he shouted. The sniper took the shot. A flash of blue light hit the figure straight in the chest. Nothing happened. The figure didn't move, not even a twitch. Then, suddenly, the sniper screamed. His weapon melted in his hands. His body shook. Blood poured from his ears. He fell to the ground, dead. No explosion, no weapon, no return fire. The Silent One had not even blinked. By now, half the alien soldiers were on their knees. Commander Threx stared at the figure, his own body shaking. He had faced death before. He had seen entire worlds burn. But this was different. This wasn't power. This was pure fear, and it was standing completely still. Back in the military labs, scientists tried scanning the human. Medical tools failed. Brain scanners overheated. Blood samples turned to dust. One machine exploded without warning. Still, he never moved. Alien doctors were puzzled. "His vitals are normal," one said. "But his heart rate doesn't change. His brain doesn't rest. It's like he's always watching." Watching what? No one knew. They tried speaking to him. "Why are you here? What is your mission? Where's your fleet?" No answer. Just silence. Some thought he was mute. Others thought he was waiting. One brave guard even insulted him. trying to provoke a reaction. The next day, that guard disappeared. Security cameras showed nothing. Just a hallway and then static. When the feed returned, the guard was gone. Never seen again. No doors opened. No sound. Just missing. The rest of the guards refused to enter his cell after that. A message came from Earth's diplomats shortly after. We did not send him. We advise you to let him go. The Xarnak Council laughed at first. Why would we fear one man? They said. That was their second mistake. On the same day, the human was brought to the war hall. Strange reports started flooding in from across the galaxy. Sarnak listening posts on distant planets went silent. Patrol ships vanished. Entire outposts lost contact. No signs of attack, said the officers. It's like they just disappeared. Some suggested a human fleet was approaching. But sensors showed nothing. No ships. No heat signatures. No movement in space. And yet, entire zones were going dark. It was then that Varka, the old alien scientist, began digging into forgotten archives. Secret files. Abandoned data cores. Stories that most thought were lies. He found something terrifying. A name whispered in the shadows of the past. Not a code, not a rank, but a word. The Witness. Not a soldier, not a spy, just a human who always appeared before destruction. Always silent, never fought. But wherever he appeared, within days, entire civilizations collapsed. Burned, erased, forgotten. No warnings, no war cries, just silence, and then ashes. Varka stared at the image again. The same human, sitting in the ruins of the city, untouched, unharmed. Now, he sat in the heart of the Xarnak Empire, silent again. We have made a mistake, Varka whispered. He rushed to the war hall, but it was already too late. Aliens, once proud and fearless, were now begging for their lives. Elsewhere, in the outer rim of the galaxy, a secret Xarnak Black Ops ship tried to investigate the humans' abandoned vessel. It was still floating near a dead moon, lifeless, cold. They sent a drone inside. What they found made them turn back immediately. Every surface of the human ship was covered with carvings, not in human language, but in alien languages. Messages, warnings. Do not awaken the storm. Do not follow the silence. And at the center of the ship, a single photo. A little human girl, smiling, happy. On the back, written in small English letters. She was my world. The commander of the Xarnak Black Ops ship gave a quiet order. Delete all footage. Leave. Now. He knew. They hadn't captured a weapon. They had touched something far more dangerous. A father. And now, the galaxy would pay the price. The Xarnak Empire had always believed they were the strongest. For hundreds of years, they conquered planets and broke civilizations. They thought humans were weak, emotional, slow to anger. But they were wrong. The man sitting in their war hall, the silent human, was not Earth's weapon. He was the warning. General Craze stood near the edge of the room, watching the human. The others had left. The hall was nearly empty now, filled only with fear and whispers. Send him back, one commander had said. Maybe they'll forgive us. Another said, kill him. Now, before it's too late. But no one dared move close. Varka returned with more files from ancient memory vaults, files hidden by the Alliance. He laid them on the table and looked at General Craze. There's something you must see. The files spoke of a secret Earth project. Not a weapon of metal or fire. Not a ship or a bomb. But something deeper, something born from pain. Years ago, after the First Contact War, Earth created a program. They called it Project Revenant. It was not public. Not even the Galactic Council knew. Revenants were not trained. They were broken. Each one had lost something in the war. A family, a planet, a child. But instead of breaking down, Earth rebuilt them. Their emotions were burned away. Their thoughts were sharpened. Their loyalty became unshakable. They needed no orders, no weapons, only a reason. And once given a reason, they would not stop. Ever. Back on Earth, deep underground, another human sat before a giant black screen. A voice spoke from the dark. "He has been taken," the voice said. They had stayed silent when Earth asked the Council to stop the abductions. Now they were the ones pleading. Too late. Much too late. Inside the galactic archives, ancient species gathered in fear. One historian, older than most stars, whispered, "This is not war. This is mourning." A Trillian ambassador asked, "But how is he doing this alone?" The historian answered, "Because humans are not like us. When a Xarnak loses a child, they move on. When a human loses a child, they become something else." He paused, then said, "Eli Voss has become the last message Earth will never need to send." In a secret Xarnak bunker, hidden under layers of rock and steel, the last members of the High Command held a final meeting. General Krays was there. So was Varka. They had seen too much. They had lost too much. And now, they were tired. "He's close," Varka said. Krays looked around the bunker. "This is our strongest base." Varka only nodded. "It won't matter." A young officer ran in, pale and shaking. "Sir," a single man just appeared outside the shield wall. No ship. No army. Just him. Krays stood. "Open the gate," he said. The officer froze. "But sir," I said, "open it." And they did. Outside, Eli Voss stood still. Behind him, the sky burned. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He simply looked up at the stars. And then, the bunker began to shake. From the inside. Not a bomb. Not a missile. Something deeper. Something human. Back on Earth, Admiral Rhea stared at her screen. "The bunker's gone," she said softly. No one answered. The silence said enough. President Ishan stood. "Start preparing the message." "What message?" Rhea asked. Ishan looked at the stars. "The one we'll send when the galaxy finally asks us, what are humans really?" He paused. Because now, they've seen the answer. The Galactic Council was once the most powerful group in the galaxy. Now, it was just a shadow of what it used to be. Only 6 members remained. They met in a hidden chamber deep inside a fortress moon, protected by fleets, energy shields, and planetary cloaks. No outsiders were allowed. No transmissions were sent. But still, fear filled the room. Because they all knew who was coming. And they knew nothing could stop him. Council leader Xura looked older than ever. His silver skin was cracked, and his long fingers trembled. "Is there any update?" he asked. General Trin, a tall creature with scales and black eyes, replied, "Another world lost. No survivors, just silence." Xura shook his head slowly. "We used to laugh at humans," he said. "We said they were too emotional, too weak, too full of feelings." He looked around the room. "And now one of them is destroying us all." The Council's last hope was called Fortress Zorin. It had over 100 warships guarding it, thousands of elite soldiers, eye defense systems, orbital mines, and emergency jump drives. It had never been broken into, never touched, not even scratched. But that night, the outer patrols vanished. No sounds, no explosions, just silence. Then the ships guarding the moon began to lose power, one by one. In the control room, alarms blared. "Something is here," a technician shouted. "We can't see it, but something is inside the shields." Another voice cried out, "All cameras are going dark, one after another." General Trin screamed, "Find him. Find that human." But it was too late. He was already inside. Eli Voss walked through the halls of Fortress Oren with no weapon in his hand. His face was calm. His steps were slow. But wherever he walked, the lights died. The soldiers who saw him dropped their guns and fell to their knees, not from fear, but from something deeper. Guilt. They felt it in their bones, like a heavy wave crashing through their souls. Because Eli was not just a man. He was everything the galaxy had ignored. Every cry for help, every broken promise, every child Earth had lost. He was the result of silence, and now he brought that silence back to them. In the council chamber, the door opened with a slow hiss.